is Frontier Opening Bell. It's the Thursday, the 13th of October. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Bosun Amafaya, and we're going straight to the markets. If you look through the stocks, then you can see what happens to the commodities market. The US dollar is still on its throne, so that's pushing other asset classes into a bit of a negative territory, with the exception of the Nairobi stock market, which went up roughly 1% yesterday. The South African market went down. The Nigerian stocks fell despite the big transactions that we saw more than 2 billion local currency on the shares of Dangote Cement and FBN Holdings. The market took about 0.1% into the red. The BRVM fell roughly 1% below the 200 psychological reading on the composite, while the Egyptian market fell by 0.67%, still below the 10,000 psychological level. That is early today. We'll see in oil prices as well as other commodities in the negative territory, including cotton, cocoa, from soft commodities to crude oil and metal prices as well. Gold is also tanking a little as well as copper. But let's get on very quickly into what's making the big stories across the markets on the continent and the economy's business investment. Let's start as always from East Africa, where Tanzanian gas pipeline will be able to cut costs of living for Kenyans. That's what big news. The Tanzanians and the Ugandans are moving with our pipeline project. NMB Bank in Kenya says it's raised the single obligor or borrower limit to about 250 billion shillings. That's for, big borrowers, by the way. And Tanzania's horticulture is expected to feature on the $10 billion French market. Tanzania, as well as Kenya, moving very strongly. Two of East Africa's and two of the biggest horticultural producers on the African continent, Frontier Africa, that is. Kenya Airways says it's dropping more of its aircraft because of the costs that is occurring. The price of jet fuel has gone up as we saw oil prices hovering around average of $90 a barrel since the start of the Ukraine war back in February. Let's take it out. Look at some of the West African top stories as we get Thursday business markets day moving forward. The World Bank IMF annual meetings enters its fourth day today. Yesterday, the Fiscal Monitor report came out and says sovereigns should help people reduce the bounce back from the crisis in Ukraine, the outcome of the crisis in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine brought by Russia. That was the pandemic, which was coming from 2020, rising inflation, rising debt, among other problems, including climate change. The whole idea, according to the director in charge of fiscal affairs at the IMF, is that the warning is that be prepared. There's going to be a shock-driven world now that we live in. And Nigeria's air travel, according to the IATA, went up roughly 68% in the month of August, as many folks are traveling, of course. And then the Lagos state government has been advised to list all the companies in the state on the stock exchange. This according to an economist, a renowned economist, Ayo Tereba, who's also a banker for many years. He was speaking yesterday at the Lagos State Eyimgbeti Summit, where Lagos State, Nigeria's iconic and economic financial capital, unveiled its 30-year development plan. And Ghana's headline inflation came in red hot yesterday, 37.2% for the month of September. President Nana Akufo-Addo and his team are grappling with high inflation and depreciation in the city, more than 30% as well since the start of the year. And Gabon is retaining its title as Africa's richest country and beating Botswana in Southern Africa. And the Niger Republic says it's looking at 16.2% growth for this year after putting 7% growth, posting 7% growth for 2021. I'm taking that straight to Southern Africa, where Transnet discussions yesterday failed to reach any deal with the striking port workers who are asking for better working conditions. So mining companies, as well as agriculture and agro-allied firms, are hurting in South Africa because exports are not going as planned. Some of the agricultural exports products can say have a very short shelf life. So we'll see how this will continue. And Banco Angolano, which is BAI in Angola, says it's planning to sell about 970,000 units of its shares on the Angolan Stock and Debt Exchange between October the 24th and the end of December. Fitch Ratings has affirmed Standard Bank's BB- rating, while the BBS Bank of Botswana says it's secured a full banking license from the authorities. And Eskom says it may have to cut to about 1,000 megawatts the size of power that it took off the national grid effective from Friday. That's tomorrow. Let's see how that helps our South Africa deal with this issue. Analysts are saying the biggest problem South Africa faces right now is not about debt, it's not about any problem or climate change, whatever. It's about power or electricity. That takes you straight to the North Africa space where we're wrapping up, as always, where it all started. Let's check in with headlines from North Africa space with Morocco. Luxembourg says they've tied partnerships on the economic and trade point. The OCP of Morocco is pledging about 4 million metric tons of fertilizers to support Africa's agriculture and food security, as we saw the negative impact of the Russia's war in Ukraine in terms of fertilizers availability or doing business with Russia on the back of that war due to Western sanctions. OCP in Morocco says it's now stepping up to the plate. We thank you very much for that. And the IMF is projecting Morocco's growth to dip to 0.8% in 2022, while Egypt's growth forecast is for 2021-2022 fiscal period for this biggest economy in North Africa is about 6.6%, but that's been scaled down to 4.4% for the next fiscal year, which will be 2022-2023. And that's coming from the IMF latest reports on Africa. We've got the Africa Department releasing this key report today on the African continent. The annual meetings in Washington continues until Sunday. Keep that in mind. Have a great day, everyone. That's your Frontier Opening Bell. You can go online and watch this show again, as well as other shows that we produce on a daily basis. Read up our stories on our website. Go follow us also on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.